When you think of a lighthouse, you probably picture a solitary tower standing guard over the rocky coast, warning ships of danger with its bright beam and foghorn. But did you know that many lighthouses have secret second stories? Well, kind of. You see, in reality, these structures are actually more like fortresses than beacons of light. Some even had top-secret uses during the Cold War. Today, we'll be exploring the secret life of lighthouses. Stay tuned for mysterious messages hidden in plain sight, a deadly Cold War weapon, and a unique hotel you can book today. But first, make sure to hit that like button if you're ready to learn something new. As many of you know, lighthouses are built to guide ships safely into port. They also serve another important function, though. These towers can often double as jails, prisons, or even gun emplacements. In fact, when you look at the architecture of many lighthouses, they were clearly built to keep people in as much as they were built to warn ships of danger. Many have thick stone walls and small barred windows. Some even feature secret passageways and trapdoors. But why would anyone want to imprison a lighthouse keeper? To answer this question, we need to look no further than Australia. The country has plenty of lighthouses, but perhaps none is as infamous as the one located on the remote island of Long Island. Originally constructed in 1851, the Victorian-era style lighthouse was built to help guide ships through the treacherous waters near the shore. It quickly became apparent, however, that the harsh conditions on Long Island made it difficult for staff to live there. Storms raged across the island and cut off any supplies from reaching the lighthouse keepers. The isolation drove many of the men insane, and the lighthouse became known as one of the most cursed places in Australia. Eventually, the government decided to abandon the lighthouse. However, instead of letting the structure fall apart, they came up with an unusual solution. They turned it into a prison. Prisoners were sent to the island to serve out their sentences and work as lighthouse keepers. Oh, this may sound like a cushy gig, but things weren't always that simple. The prisoners were forced to perform hard labor, and if they failed to do their jobs correctly, they were subject to harsh punishments. One false move, and they could be sent back to jail. However, not all the prisoners were felons. Sometimes the inmates were political dissidents who had opposed the government. They were locked up in the lighthouse for years without committing any crimes. Fortunately, in 1906, the Australian government abolished the death penalty, and the practice of sending prisoners to the lighthouse ended shortly after. Today, the building serves as a museum dedicated to the history of immigration in Australia. For our next story, let's head over to the United States and explore a lighthouse with a dark secret. Located in the coastal town of Two Light State Park in Maine, this historic lighthouse has a haunting past. Built in 1878, the lighthouse was constructed after several shipwrecks occurred due to the dangerous rocks near the shore. However, shortly after the lighthouse was built, tragedy struck. A nearby oil refinery exploded, and the toxic waste flowed into the ocean. This created a slick on the water that caused ships to lose their way. The lighthouse keepers tried to warn passing ships of the danger, but it wasn't enough. One by one, the ships sailed into the slick and wrecked themselves on the rocks. To make matters worse, the lighthouse keeper's house caught fire and burned to the ground, forcing the keeper and his family to flee. Over time, the slick disappeared and the lighthouse continued to guide ships safely to shore, but the dark secret of the lighthouse remained. As you may have noticed, lighthouses tend to be isolated structures that stand alone on the coast. This is not only to ensure that they can be seen from far away, but also to prevent any unwanted visitors from approaching them. But what happens when a lighthouse becomes the target of enemy spies? That's exactly what happened during the Cold War. During this time, the U.S. government feared that the Soviet Union might try to infiltrate their coastal defenses and spy on their activities. As a result, many lighthouses were converted into top-secret military installations. One of the most secretive of these was the Mk-29 radar station located at Cape Patras in Greece. Built in 1940, the lighthouse was initially used to detect enemy aircraft, but after the start of World War II, it was abandoned. After the war ended, the U.S. government took control of the lighthouse and installed advanced radar equipment. The lighthouse became part of the Ball-Tops program, a secret initiative to monitor Soviet shipping patterns in the Mediterranean Sea. Spies from both sides kept watch over each other, and no one knew what might happen next. Today, the former lighthouse is still in operation as a radar station, but the details of its activities remain classified. While some lighthouses had secret uses during the Cold War, others served as beacons of hope for those stranded at sea. Take the SS Edmund Custis, for example. Its wooden schooner was sailing along the coast of North Carolina in 1881 when it ran into trouble. A storm had sprung up, and the ship was being tossed around like a toy in the waves. The crew struggled to keep the vessel afloat, but it was clear they needed help. Just when all hope seemed lost, they spotted a light in the distance. It was the Bodie Island Lighthouse. The crew managed to navigate the ship toward the light, and soon they were safe on land. But the lighthouse keeper, William Clark, didn't stop there. He and his wife provided food and shelter to the crew until they were able to find their way home. In recognition of his heroic actions, the U.S. Life-Saving Service awarded Clark a Medal of Honor, but he wasn't the only one to receive recognition. The lighthouse itself was given a special designation, becoming the first lighthouse in the United States to earn the title of a U.S. life-saving station. It may not seem like a big deal, but this distinction gave the lighthouse a new level of importance and funding. This meant that the lighthouse could be better maintained and improved, ensuring that it could continue to guide ships safely to shore. Plus, it just sounds pretty cool to be able to say that your local lighthouse is an official life-saving station. But not all lighthouses have such a peaceful history. Some of them have been involved in some pretty shady dealings. Take, for instance, the Base Island Lighthouse located in Lake Erie. This lighthouse was built in 1900 and served as a guide for ships traveling through the lake. But in the early 1920s, the lighthouse keeper, Charles Poole, had a side hustle. Along with two of his friends, he organized a bootlegging operation, selling illegal alcohol during the Prohibition era. They used the lighthouse as a lookout to warn them of any approaching law enforcement, and smuggled the alcohol into the mainland using hidden coves. But their operation didn't last forever. In 1926, Poole and his friends were caught and arrested for their illegal activities. For our final story, let's head over to England and explore a lighthouse with a unique twist. Tucked away on the rugged coastline of Cornwall sits the Godrevy Lighthouse, guiding ships safely into the harbor. Since 1859, but this iconic landmark has a secret second story that's not visible from the ground. Built in the mid-19th century, the lighthouse was designed to help ships navigate the treacherous waters near the coast. But as technology advanced, so did the methods used by smugglers to evade authorities. In recent years, smugglers had been hiding their illegal goods in the lighthouse and using the cover of darkness to move their wares. So in order to combat this growing problem, the British government came up with a clever solution. They installed a secret camera inside the lighthouse that allowed authorities to keep an eye on suspicious activity. The camera was disguised as a harmless statue, but it had a secret purpose. It allowed the police to gather intelligence on the smugglers without them knowing. Thanks to this top-secret technology, the smugglers were eventually caught, and the lighthouse was saved from being used for nefarious purposes. Today, the lighthouse is open to the public, and visitors can take tours to learn about its fascinating history. Now, for a bit of fun, let's talk about where you can stay at a lighthouse. If you're looking for a unique vacation spot, why not book a night or two in a lighthouse? We've already covered quite a few lighthouses that have been turned into museums or prisons. But what about the ones that are available for rent? Believe it or not, there are plenty of lighthouses scattered around the world that you can book for your next getaway. Here are just a few of our favorites. The Little River Lighthouse, located in Michigan. This charming lighthouse is situated on a private island and can be rented for a romantic getaway or a family vacation. The lighthouse features 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and stunning views of Lake Michigan. Or how about the No Name Key Lighthouse, located in Florida? This secluded lighthouse is nestled in a tropical paradise and can be rented for a true escape from the ordinary. The lighthouse features 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a private dock. Now, if you don't mind roughing it a bit, there's always the option to rent a lighthouse in Scotland. The country is known for its rugged coastline and picturesque lighthouses. The Rúba Lighthouse, located on the Isle of Skye, is just one example of the stunning lighthouses available to rent in Scotland. The lighthouse features 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and breathtaking views of the sea. So if you're looking for a unique travel experience, why not consider booking a night or two in a lighthouse? You may just discover a hidden gem that you never knew existed. Thanks for watching. Which lighthouse did you think was the most interesting? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content.